Geno, how long does he have in Vegas?
It's bad right now.
It's not good. It's just not good.
He's really struggling, which, so I was at the week 1 game in Foxborough where it was bumpy in the first half, but Geno stepped up and made a bunch of big time throws in the second half, to guys like, Trey Tucker and other players that, people, I don't think the average fan has heard of. Not having Brock Bowers is a big deal. That's the straw that stirs the drink. He got banged up, and I think in the fourth quarter of that game, has played, several games, but wasn't himself, then misses last week's game. No sign he'll be back. When you lose your number one weapon, it's not a wide receiver per se, but Brock Bowers is essentially a wide receiver. He just plays a little bit different spot on the field. That does have a ripple effect on everyone else because, quite frankly, they're just not that talented outside of Bowers, at the receiving positions. Jacoby Myers is a really good, solid receiver. He's not getting targeted for whatever reason right now. Beyond that, you're relying on a bunch of young guys. Michael Mayer, their number 2 tight end, has also been out in recent weeks here. But a lot of this just boils down to Geno, whether it's decision-making or accuracy. He's just not playing like we've seen Geno at his best. The Raiders are paying him $40 million this year. They gave him a raise. There was no signing bonus in that deal, and he's not due, guaranteed money beyond this season. So absolutely, there's a scenario in which they could move on from Geno Smith. But I don't get any sense right now that they're thinking about, benching him, going to Kenny Pickett. I don't know that Kenny Pickett is necessarily an upgrade. He didn't have a camp to kind of get used to how they're doing things with the Raiders either. At some point, some of the scrutiny is probably going to fall on Chip Kelly in this entire thing. They've got a young guy in Ashton Genty who's a ton of fun to watch, especially over these last couple of games. How do you leverage him, take some of the pressure off of Geno Smith? Pete Carroll made reference to that the other day when he was asked about how do you get Geno on track. He said, we got to run the football more and we got to run it better. That's kind of the answer that Pete has for everything from an offensive perspective. You go back to all those years with Russell Wilson, as much as people wanted to let Russ cook, a big part of the reason they were successful was they were the best running team in the NFL for a large portion of that time. And they didn't need Russ to go out and throw the ball over the yard for the first 3 quarters of the game. And until, hey, fourth quarter, we're down. All right, Russ, now do your magic. It's kind of the same thing with Geno Smith, who was in that same type of a structure here. Right now, for whatever reason, they don't really have that balance. Bauer's absence is a huge part of it. But certainly the longer that the struggles would go on for Geno Smith, the more we're talking about are the Raiders back in the quarterback market in 2026.
Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.